you being a client, this is going to be great perspective.
Just life on life terms. Stuff that happens, you can't control it. It's uncontrollable stuff.
There's never anything that's exactly the same unless it's stuff we're building for ourselves.
And the next thing I'm looking up and it echoes. I mean, I got 40-foot ceilings, man. I tell you what, it's really hard to describe.
What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Barndo Show. I'm your host, TJ, and today I've got a very special episode and a good friend of mine, Mr. Danny Godfrey. What's up, Danny?
What's up, TJ? How you doing, man?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. So I'm super excited to have you here for a couple reasons. One is you're like one of my favorite people to talk to.
Yes.
But also you were a client. So
yes, sir.
You built with us. And so we have so many people on the show where we're just kind of walking through like how to do a Barndo or, different things that we do, the way we build, from building methods, whatever. And then the perspective on just building one, that's really cool. So you came to us a little over a year ago and had this idea. So what brought you to the idea of building a Barndominium?
Well, it's just something different. Okay, I like the aspect of just the way they look, man. They look cool, and everything's big and bulky. Metal on the roof, metal on the side, and what can go wrong, right? Should last a long time. But just the country aspect. So we bought, me and my family bought 66 acres in Woodruff, and so we'll build, we'll put the family out there. So it's more of the country aspect, Barnum is cool.
Yeah, well,
we absolutely love it.
Everybody's like, it's like the American dream reinvented. And so everybody wants to get out of the city, get out in the country, buy land and do all this stuff. And so I remember the phone call when you called me up and you told me where you bought land and how much you bought. And I was just as excited as you were, I think, because I love the area you bought in. But, so how did you find us?
Oh, man, I think it was social memedia. Actually, I think my wife found you.
Yeah,
and
that's the story from everybody.
So yes, she's the superstar behind everything. I'll go ahead and tell you that right now. But she found you, and I reached out. Me and you had a conversation a couple of times, I think, and I said, "This is my guy." You was right there. You lived close to me. I just felt like I trusted you. Right. And I've been in sales my whole life, 23 years. So, it was perfect. Felt right.
Right. Well, what was really cool about it for me was two things. One, I was still actually selling barns myself at that point in time. Number two was I found out where you were living at that time was like almost my next door neighbor. Mm-hmm. And so you told me where you live. I was like, well, I'll just come by your house. Yeah. And so, we came by and sat at the kitchen table. And,
pretty much inked up right there, I think.
Yeah.
I think I handed you the money. Let's go.
That's right. Yeah, we talked shop right there. And the rest of it was fun. So, it's fun for me because, we're on like a mission to always get better. And so everything we do is centered around being the best. I beat that to death. The B in Barndo is to be the best at everything we do. And, this year our theme's better than ever, but when you came in, it was kind of new. I think we were in our second year of doing this, and we had really just hit a really big push of buildings where we were, moving into building tens of, 60, 70 houses at a time. And, so you kind of came in at a sweet spot because we were better than when we first began, but we're also still new because of the growth we were having. And so, when you guys came in to the design process, like what, in your opinion, like how did the design process and everything like that go for you guys? Because, I don't even know if I've ever asked you that question, but like.
Well, it was good. It's okay. So I've never built a house before. So I had no idea what challenges I had. Okay. And a lot of stuff, there was times that I was not happy. Right. But some of that was just y'all trying to get better. Okay. So I'm in business too, right? So I get that part of it. You're trying to get better. You're changing processes, maybe even changing contractors. and stuff like that. So overall, it was a great experience. And, it took a little longer than we expected, but a lot of it was chalked up with weather. It's just life on life terms, stuff that happens. You can't control it. It's uncontrollable stuff. So it's all we can control is activities, right?
100%.
We can't control outcomes. So me understanding that part of it, it was fine. So everything went good. And the guy, Dan, I love Dan.
Well, I told Dan this morning, I said, Dan, I'm going to put Danny on the hot seat and say, you got to rate Dan 1 to 10. He was like,
let me tell you something. I love that guy.
Yeah.
He's good. He's laid back. I wore him out a few times.
Yeah.
It's like it didn't even get to him.
No, Dan's great. So Dan's one of our project managers. He's a phenomenal guy up here in the upstate. And, one of his first projects with our company was your house. But the cool thing, like your home is a showstopper. So I remember you found the plan, brought it to me and said, this is what I want to build.
My wife found it.
Yeah, your wife found it. We got to give her the credit.
That's true though. She did. So we found the plan. I was like, man, this is different, right?
Yeah.
It gave me what I wanted, the huge garage. I tell people I built a house around my vault room because that's my favorite room. But the huge garage, I mean, it's just an eye catcher. So we don't even park cars in there. Yeah. We park toys, and it's like an extension of the house. I got a pool table in there. I got tables set up. So we have people come over. We do little different events. And actually, I was honored to have my employees come over for a Christmas party.
I saw pictures of that.
Man, it was awesome. That's what we celebrate. So I almost try to do that every year now.
That's so awesome.
Just giving it back to them a little bit,
Yeah, I remember that. So we get asked all the time because people get hung up on like our process. And so you brought me a plan and you had purchased a plan, came in, and I told you the same thing I tell everybody else. Hey, my guys still need to go in and create some plans around this so we can get post placement. We can look at all the details and get everything kind of nuanced in there. But you ended up with the home you wanted. It's just a little bit of a different process to make sure that once we hit construction stage, things went as smooth as they can go. Because, we learned, just going gung ho. Yeah, we'll build that. Let's get started. And then we run into stuff on the field and it's a trickle down effect. So, it was really fun. And the plan that you have is, one of the most viral we've ever posted when we finish your home. So it's a beautiful home.
Yeah, thank you.
And just really, really excited about it. And the cool thing is like, it's real Barndominium. You know what I mean? Like you've got as much or almost as much garage space as you've got house. And it's just it's a super cool plan. And but the fun part was like we had such a great experience, like consumer, experience with you. Like, again, I know that it was hurdles and I know we had to have conversations around it. And I tell everybody that comes into our business, this is an 80-20 experience. 80% of this is going to be phenomenal. 20% of it you're going to hate, And so I try to tell people like, hey, when we encounter that, just stick it in your 20. You know that you're going to have it. So let's get it on the front end and know that 20% is going to be terrible. And so it's just going to happen. But we had so much fun building it, and like we even went and shot a podcast in your home while it was in construction. And I remember called you up being like, "Hey, we're going to come out and shoot this thing," and you're like, "Yeah, come on out." And then it torrential downpoured.
Yep.
And the audio was so bad we couldn't even release it afterwards. So it was like it was just a fun experience. But we had a great time out there hanging out with you guys, and like I say, it as far as and I wish everybody could have an expectation of what it's like to build a home. Like you said, you never built a home, but you're in business. And so you have some context of like things can go wrong. So like, how would you, like what words of wisdom would you give someone right now who's sitting on the fence, or maybe they just onboarded or they're getting started and they've got these big expectations of like, what would you tell them as far as what to expect and how they can prepare themselves and prepare their wives or vice versa?
Well, the biggest thing I can tell everybody, it's a construction site. Okay. I think I got a little frustrated sometimes because I like stuff to be clean and neat, but it's a construction site. So I had to wrap my head around that. Okay, we're going to walk in here and check out the house. We got to step over things. We're going to have to, right? Another thing, get ready to spend more than you thought you was going to spend.
Yep.
You know, you want advice from me about that? I've done a lot of stuff on my own. You know, I run 200 yards of water line. I paid for the carport or the concrete outside the carport. Just a lot of different stuff that even the furniture, even doing the blinds. You know, the window treatment. You think blinds are cheap? No.
Yeah.
You start putting them in these custom homes. Get ready, somebody's got to build them, and they're not cheap. And two, when you're setting up your house, think about everything where you might need outlets. Because I go back and I think, God, man, I should have put outlets on the side over here, or water over here, but that's okay. You know, I didn't, but now that's the stuff. If I ever done it again,
Yep.
there would be an outlet in every square feet of the house because I got stuff to plug in. But just little things, just unexpected. It's going to happen.
Yep.
Weather's going to happen. You can't control that, right? The contractors are going to tear stuff up, but that's okay. There's other contractors that come back and fix it.
Yep.
You know, I learned that. I'm thinking the house is painted. This guy just rammed a ladder through the sheetrock, you know. But that's just life on life. That stuff is going to happen. It doesn't matter because guess what? It's going to be fixed. You know, I promise you, I went through all that, and these guys took great care of me. They fixed everything.
I tell people, we can just get to the end.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to love the product. We may still be your least favorite people for a couple months, but normally we normally get like a text or an email or something like 90 days in, normally because the first call for their warranty, you know, for like little point up stuff is normally at that 2 to 3 month mark. And then, you know, again at a year, but we normally get some kind of interaction after about 90 days of living in the home. Something minor, you know, that they want us to come look at or something. But normally it's like, man, hey, I really appreciate you guys, you know, and what you did for us. And the last 30 days on the site is like, you know, you want to take your pistol to the job site because you're like, I don't know, this guy's probably got his, you know. So it's like, but you know, the cool thing about what we do, and also the biggest pain in what we do, is every single job is different. Every person that we build for, even if we build a similar home, it's not going to be the same, and the terrain's different, and the client is different, and the atmosphere is different, and everything. Like, there's never anything that's exactly the same unless the stuff we're building for ourselves, you know, and some of the developments we do or stuff like that. But, you know, and the majority of what we do is build on your lot. And so you have some of the things that we try to forewarn people against. You know, when you buy land, it's wonderful. And then when you build your home, you know, you're half mile off the road, you know, so you kind of see some of those things, some of those costs that people don't think about. Like, hey, we're going to put in a driveway, a construction entrance, right? And then you get concrete trucks and semi trucks, and you know, that truck's going to get stuck, or they can't, you know, climb the hill, or, you know, somebody puts crusher run in, and you didn't have 57 stone, and the truck can't grab it. And like, there's so much stuff that happens. And even if you have a beautiful construction entrance and driveway, by the end of construction, it's gone.
It's horrible. Yeah.
Yep. And so,
been there. I'm going to tell you, the further you go back off the road, the more expensive it is.
Yeah.
Okay. I was thinking, I want to get way back here. Let's get back here far off the road. And then I said, what have I done? I done started it. So, for instance, when I run my water line, I run 1-inch CTS, okay? I had a buddy that works for the water district. He come out there. His name's Mike. He said, no, you need volume. Not going to work. You're going to have pressure, but you need volume.
Yeah.
Because we had like 12 or 14 ground outlets or ground faucets everywhere, right? So I dug all that up, every bit of it. I went and bought 1.5 inch CTS, and I run it. So just little stuff, jumping the gun, doing stuff like that. And speaking of the driveway, you know, it happened to me. So I got a hill incline, and one of the contractors come up here trying to pull a big trailer. And once you get in that mud, if you're in gravel, it's done. Yep. There's no fix. You got to. So I had to hire my guy to come back out, and we fixed it because I knew it was on me. So I need to make it right. So we done it right this time up the hill. We put big rock, put the felt down, everything. It was done right. So I hadn't had any problems even now.
Right.
But yeah, the stuff is going. It's going to mess up. So get ready. You're going to have to spend more money on gravel after it's done if you want it pretty or right or whatever you're going to asphalt it.
Right. Yeah, well, and again, people just, you know, we try, if you've never built, especially like some people have built homes in communities, but going out and building in the country is a whole different experience. Cause like, you know, talking about driveways and all this different kind of stuff, like it's not like we're pouring a 16-foot concrete drive into your garage. You're most people are back off the road, you know, like a short driveway for us, 700 feet, you know, so we're always dealing with this, and people, that's a cost that a lot of people don't think about. You know, it's funny because we were talking about before the show, like you were talking about your grass seed. I've been planting grass my whole life, and you know all the different things, and you know y'all had hydroseeded, and then you had to go back and re-sow grass, and so those are all things that are additional costs that you know they don't really slow down your build, but it's one of those things where you start turning a house to a home. You know, people want landscaping and stuff like that, so those are some cool things. Let me ask you another question. What was the worst part, like as far as phases of construction? Like which part of construction process were you pulling your hair out?
Okay. You know, it's like everybody else probably said, it's the end.
Yeah.
Right? So we had family coming down for Thanksgiving. And I was pushing Dan. I said, man, I'll give you this if you can get it done. You know, trying to bribe them. And then Ross come out there, and we all walked around. He says, I'll have you in here by Thanksgiving, before Thanksgiving. So just the end of it, because it starts dripping like molasses. She's like, what are we doing? You know, what is going on? Why ain't somebody, you know, and I know how to do some of this stuff. I was like, well, I'll just start doing some of it, but I didn't.
You wanted to.
I didn't. Yeah, I wanted to, but I guess the end part of it, you know, because when you first start on the job site, when you get the concrete down, boy, that thing flies up. You're like, oh God, I'll be living here in 3 weeks. Yeah. That's how fast it looks. And then here comes the sheetrock or the insulation, the electricians, the plumbers and everything, and it starts to mellow back down again, you know? You're like, okay, now this ain't gonna happen quick.
Yes.
But when you get to the end and you see some of the finished product and you're trying to do some of the trim just to touch up stuff, it got real slow, right? So, and you're ready to go. You're ready to move in.
You said Thanksgiving, and I'm laughing because we call it Hell Week, and it's a period of time which is basically the beginning of November to the end of January. Like it's Hell Week because everybody wants in by the holidays, and I talk about it all the time, like the phone calls, and I remember the phone calls. You'd be like, "Hey man, I just need to know that this is going to happen," and everybody wants that. And what's funny is you were at that stage, right? You were at the end. You know, like it was close. Like that's a realistic expectation. But you have people that are in that like drywall stage, and they're like, "We got to be in by the holidays," and I'm like, "Not happening." And so we deal with that all the time, and like inevitably, there's always so many people right there pushing up to the holidays, and it doesn't matter if you told them, "Hey, you're not going to be moving in until January, February." When November rolls around and that Christmas music comes on the radio, they're like, "Hey, y'all need to get it in gear. We got to get in this place." And so, you know, we deal with that all the time, and that's funny. I wasn't even thinking about yours being a Hell Week finish, but it was.
It was, yeah, and it was hard on us too because you got to understand. So we come from a 2,600 square foot house, right? We sold it. We sold a couple of houses at that time. So we moved to StarTex where we had this little 500 square foot, used to be a beauty salon. So in a year's time, me and my wife, we was going to make it into a rental property, right? Never thought I was going to live in it. Never in my life. And it's nice. It was a nice little place. And we had to put a garage behind it just for my 17-year-old son, somewhere he could sleep and stuff and have his stuff. And so we was there a year and a half. Right. And it was tough, man. And then we move into this monstrosity.
Yeah.
So I'm like, God, I feel like I need to go stand in the closet or something because I'm so used to the short roof. And the next thing I'm looking up and it echoes. I mean, I got 40-foot ceilings, man. This thing is massive. And it's echoing and everything. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you know, this is different. But I'll tell you what, it was one of the happiest days of my life to get out of that tiny home and get up there. But the place is unbelievable. It's beautiful, man. I tell you what, it's really hard to describe what it feels like to come. And you got all this land. I mean, we got 0.6 almost half a mile road frontage. So you're driving past your property, and like, man, this is a dream come true, right? And then you pull up here and you see this big, beautiful house. You're like, oh my gosh, and the attention to detail, even with the cabinet drawers and the stuff like that y'all put into it, just makes it perfect. Definitely do it again with y'all guys. Absolutely.
That makes me happy to hear.
Yeah,
makes me happy to hear because I know it is a tedious process to go through, and especially first time building. Everybody gets there. So like for us, a lot of times people get frustrated with us because we're kind of nonchalant when, they're losing their mind, 10 alarm fire. And we're like, hey, everything's going to be okay. And I tell them like, hey, I get it. This is the first conversation like this you ever had, but we have 45, 60 of them a day, and sometimes look, we drop the ball too. Like there's no question. Like the amount of buildings we're doing, there is going to be someone somewhere, something goes wrong that, we could have done something to prevent it, or we could have done something different or did something better. And we're humans too. But at the end, we always get people to what they wanted. And that for us is kind of the mission, like turning impossible dreams into possible realities. And that's the way you do it. And so we just kind of have to grin and bear it sometimes. It was not it was not a bad build at all. Like you're an ideal client, but some people just, personality is they just flip their lid, and there's no rationale inside of it. And it's not even personal. It's just, they're so overwhelmed in the moment that they don't know any other way to communicate. Right. And so you just live in it with them. So that's cool. So the ending you said is dripping like molasses. That's great. I'm gonna use that as some kind of marketing thing moving forward. But that's true because the one thing about building the way we build is how fast the beginning happens, and that is the distinguishing difference in us and a traditional build is just that first part. But once that's done, the rest of it is just like traditional construction. You got the same kind of interior finishes and everything happening. Now, granted, higher ceilings and all this kind of other stuff, but for the most part, you got the same doors inside of Barndominium that you'd have inside of another home. You'd same cabinets, countertops, things like that. So it kind of just goes along at like a traditional pace. And we see people have that same experience. We show up and they're like, "Oh, our concrete got poured," and then 4 days later, we're like, "We have a house."
Yeah, absolutely.
So, well, let me ask you this: what do you feel like was the best part, apart from moving day, like of that experience?
Well, I was sitting on my couch in the tiny home, all 500 square feet. My dog right beside me. And that morning, you called me, and you said, "Hey, man, how would you like to have some? Was it cypress, tongue and groove porches?" And you said, "Okay, this is what we got to do to make it happen, but it's going to look like $1 million, what you told me." And you know what? You're exactly right. $1 million doesn't describe it. I mean, it's like you go when you're at this house now. It's like when you walk out, it's a resort. It's got that resort feeling. So that was one of my best experiences because I knew what you had given up to make that happen.
Yep.
So that was awesome.
Yeah, and that turned out incredible. The porches on your house. Well, me and my wife are in the process of starting a build, and I told her, I was like, I'm building the same porch, the same, like it is a dream porch. Like I say, we came down there and doing that podcast, and the porches were done. The house is still under construction, but I was sitting out there on that porch, and I was thinking to myself, like, this is paradise. This is absolute paradise. Like it is such a beautiful thing, and the side, and that's why I knew, like, we just built a similar porch on a little bit smaller scale for someone, and we used all that rough cut cypress and put the tongue and groove in there, and I was like, man, there's no way I'm fixing to build this house up here and not do this for him. Like, and I called Ross. I was like, we got to do this.
If you're going to build a Barndominium, you're going to have porches. You got to go with the cypress. Yeah, the tongue and groove. It totally makes it more of a home. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's definitely got the wow factor, especially if you've got the big premier porch areas. Because I think you got like
And I got a lot of square footage porch.
You got 1,500 square foot of porch.
Well, we just now getting to enjoy it, right?
Yeah.
So we even got one that comes off our master bedroom.
Yeah.
So my wife will go out there and she'll drink. She's got a little rocking chair. She'll drink coffee, and she's all time deer spotting. So she'll call me up work. Man, I just had 8 deer go through the backyard. So that part of it's cool. But the weather just now got good enough so we can enjoy the porches. I mean, we done had done cooked oysters. We didn't have people. We've done all kinds of stuff so far, but we're having a blast with it. Definitely makes the experience.
So in the process of when, like, you know, going back to the very beginning, in that initial design, you know, you guys worked with one of our designers and kind of made it your own, right? So there's just a few things you went in there and changed, tweaked things around, you know, to get it exactly how you guys wanted it. Like, how do you feel like that was that experience? Like, you know, because again, from a design aspect, you know, you get some one-on-one time. Like, how was that?
That was great. So that's one of the most important parts of the build, right, is to make it yours. So we had the blueprint, or we had the house we wanted, but we're going to make it ours now, okay? So, because remember, we put the vault room in, the bathroom in the garage, and then we added the attic. Some changes that we made to make it ours. So, yeah, it was a great experience. You know, it kind of got your blood started getting flow. Okay, this is really happening now. We're going to build a house, you know, or a Barndominium, and it kind of got me pumped up at the time. And Jeff was great to work with. You know, he was real knowledgeable. He stayed in touch with us, and the communication was good. So, it was a good part of the experience.
So, man, what's really cool is, like, you just in a short period of time, you talked about a couple things. One is like move-in day for the holidays, right? And then tell me about the Christmas tree. I remember you texted me. You're like, brother, I had to go get me a Christmas.
Oh, dude, let me tell you something. So I love my wife to death, and she loves Christmas. Okay, I'll never take that from her. She loves to decorate. It's family time, and I do too. So she starts saying, we need a big Christmas tree. So, and this is one of these expenses you don't think about, right? So she starts shopping for this thing, and I can't remember if it's 25 feet. I can't even remember how big it is, but it's huge. I mean, and I'm not even going to tell you what we spent. Okay, so I about choked up when I started hearing what these things cost. But anyway, she got her tree, and it's like 9 pieces. So we start putting this thing together, and it's going up, and we got the lights hooked up. And I'm like, oh, we didn't decorate it. I mean, because you literally had to have a big ladder. You know, my ladder wasn't big enough, so we had to pull half of it back down, decorate, and then put it back up. But you know what? At the end, it was awesome. It looked, you know, I got pictures of it. It looked great with the big fireplace, the mantle, and the Christmas tree right there. We had an awesome Christmas. It was great.
That's awesome. But like, what's fun for me about this, like, Barndominium stuff is, like, there's so many cool stories. And, like, we always say, like, we got country bougie clients because, like, you can almost, like, it's such a lifestyle because, you know, you got the garage, you're like, man, we keep our toys in the garage, and we know that, right? That's the appeal. Everybody's got that, and they want to put it in their, you know, their side-by-sides and four-wheelers and all the stuff and have that in the garage. And then the porches, you're like, man, we're having oyster roast, and you know, you had a Christmas party over at your house, and you got this big garage area to host it. You got all these different things, and then we were talking before the show about your dining room table. You're like, man, I can seat 18 people at my dining room table. So it's just like it creates the space to live the life that everybody wants, and so
absolutely.
it's just really cool to hear those stories. And everybody I talk to, like, when I talk about the construction process, or I talk about, like, hey, what part of your barn do you really love the most? They all, like, it always goes back to a story about, like, man, you know, we had a big birthday party at the house, or we had a cookout, or, you know, and so the stories around the home is what makes the home. And so, you know, just having the space to do it, and, like, the Barndominium is so conducive to that. Like, it's just, you have space. You have so much space to just do everything that you want to do. So I love it, man. And I love that you had a good experience, and even in the midst of it, you had a real experience. You know, things that, like you said, that was frustrating, but in the end, everything was good. But what I want to do, man, every week on the show, we do a segment called Barn Burner. And so the barn burner is we have people from online that like ask questions, and we have a Facebook group, the Barndominium Designs and Layouts page. I think there's over 500,000 people in there. And so there's no shortage of opinions and questions.
Right.
And so Jenna does a good job of scouring through there and finding questions and things like that. And then we normally have them popped up and, we put people on the spot to answer them. But you being a client, this is going to be great perspective. So the first question is, in what ways has living in a barndominium exceeded your expectations?
Just the room, the flexibility to do stuff and have large events. It makes it fun, right? I love inviting people over. I mean, the family comes over, we have steak night, stuff like that. We had a baby reveal. I just became a grandfather.
Oh, congratulations.
So just stuff like that. We had the concrete full of whiskey, Buffalo Trace whiskey barrels set up. It was awesome. But stuff you can't do in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
And we're out in the country. We got all this room, man. We can have these big events. And it's awesome. It's absolutely great.
All right. So the next question is, if you could give only one tip to someone who's looking to build from the perspective of being someone who has built, what would it be?
Well, if you're what you're spending out of pocket, I'm going to tell you this. So you need to really look at everything too. Because a lot of people, I didn't think about the driveways and repairs and stuff like that. And, so if you think you're going to spend 50 out of your pocket, you might as well go ahead and bump it to 70 or 80 because stuff's going to happen. You're going to have to, or you're going to change something during the build.
Yep.
And you might as well do it right then. Don't wait. Don't say you're going to do it later. For instance, for me, it was the garage. Remember, I wasn't going to finish the garage. Yep. And now I got black acid wash floors. I got the sheet insulation in the garage. I got a mini split. It's fully painted, and it absolutely it made the house. So it wouldn't have been right for me not to do that.
Right. Now that's good advice because we try to tell people to hedge some money for the things, because we build a home and unlike a neighborhood builder or a tract home builder, I mean, we put people's driveways in all the time. Like it's something that we offer. But beyond that, there's things that once the house is built, again, it's got to be a home. And so we don't do landscaping typically. I mean, some people ask us to do it, but we always try to advise people like, don't pay me to do it because I'm paying someone and you're paying me a management fee to do it. Mm-hmm. We try to be transparent with those costs. Like we tell everybody there's pre-construction costs, construction costs, and post-construction costs. We only care about that one in the middle. Right. If you could save, we could save you money on the before and the after, we will. But there's just things in there, that you're not thinking about. And so, but that's really sound advice. Just there's so many things that you're not thinking about that are not direct expenses to the home or to the construction itself. It's just things that you need. Mm-hmm. You're moving your whole life to a new place, and so there's just going to be some things in there that you need.
Just do it right. Just own it.
Yeah. Okay. So last question. This is a question we get asked all the time by people in our sales calls, people online, and it's always about like energy efficiency because they see we push the big open cathedral ceilings. That's one of the cool things about the steel trusses. I mean, you can get a massive ceiling. I think you got 40-foot ceilings in your living room that are open to the loft, and I mean, it's cool. It looks awesome. And then we also do a lot of things to be energy efficient in the spray foam and all the different things that we do to make that house energy efficient. But the biggest question is like, is it really energy efficient with the high ceilings and everything like that? So from your perspective, like you're the best person that I could ask this question to because you got, probably your top 5 highest ceilings in a living room that we've built to date. What's been your experience?
Well, I can say this: make sure you get a big fan, right?
Yeah.
So the fan works 2 different ways. It can pull or you can push.
Yeah.
Right now, because we experienced the wintertime, right? And my power bill hovered around $300, and you see how big the house is.
Yeah.
And now I got a mini split out in the garage where I heat and cool my garage too. So it's not been really any different from what I've expected or the smaller house I've lived in.
Right.
So I think the spray foam and just the way the AC was set up, the heat and air, and the big fans, it makes all the difference.
Yep. No, that's good. Yeah, and for us, it's one thing for us to say it, but another thing for you to say it. And so when you hear those energy bills and you talk about the size of home, it's absurd that you could heat your home.
Even in the Facebook, when y'all was posting the house, there was people commenting, "Well, I'd hate to pay that power bill," but really, it's not that bad.
Yeah,
you know, and it's kind of on the people who live here too.
Yeah,
so we work all the time, but just your heating and air. I think the open cell foam makes a difference because there are some thick walls too.
Yeah,
and they done a great job with that. And but put a fans. All you need is fans. Circulate the air.
Yep. No, we love the big fans too. They're awesome. Well, Danny, man, I appreciate you coming on the show. You, like I say, you've been awesome. It's nothing for me to get a random text from you sending me a book recommendation or something back and forth. I love that stuff, man. So I appreciate that we've been able to become friends through the process. And, you know, you champion for us. You've had so many people tour your home, and I've had so many people call me and say, "Yeah, I was over there at Danny's house, and he told me to call you guys." And so, like, you're exceptional friend, client, whatever. But I was just glad to get you on here because we get asked all the time, like, you know, perspective of people who have built with us. And you know, everybody has an experience, and there's ups and downs inside of it. But overall, you know, just letting people know, like, hey, this is a real human that built one of the coolest barns. And if you follow us online, you've seen his house, and you definitely hearted the photo because it absolutely went viral. But yeah, I appreciate you, brother.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me, man.
Yeah.
We're good friends. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, guys, for tuning in to the Barndo Show podcast. If you're watching on YouTube or wherever you're listening to this content, hit subscribe so you don't miss an episode. And then be sure to check us out on all of our social media platforms at the Barndo Co. Super simple to find us. And then when you're ready to dive in a little more, maybe look around some of our available floor plan options or take a look at the gallery of our work, or maybe you're ready to connect with our team and explore what it looks like to build your dream barndominium, you can visit us online at thebarndoco.com.